Hey everybody, welcome back to Champ and Sons and our Let's Play Planet Zoo series, where we have got the last habitat for our Africa section going in today. Now this is going to be a dual animal habitat section, so we are talking it's going to have zebras, and I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I can't remember, to be honest with you. But it is a horned animal, so it's got some horns, which has got to be semi-interesting, right? You know what I mean? But it is going to be... I do like how this build came out. It's fairly simple. It's really just to kind of give these animals a place to be. You know, it'll give people a good shot of them. Zebras are actually generally pretty big animals, right? So it turns out pretty good, and these animals do get along with each other. It's a decent size habitat. It's one that's going to be more open, so there's not an indoor section that you can really look at. It's something that I really like how it turns out. We do some different things with this one than I've done in the past with some of the others, so you know it was a slight change up for me, but it gave me an idea of how to kind of go back through with some of the other habitats and fix those up. And one of the things you're seeing right now is actually putting the rocks on the wall. Yeah, it's a facade, you know, but I think, you know, most animals, if you bring them in from the wild and stuff, rescue them, yeah, they're going to know they're not where they're supposed to be, right? So you can kind of try to make them feel at home, at least in a natural type of environment, even though zebras aren't used to being around rocks. They're used to being on the plains. But, you know, it's one of those kind of things, so be it. I think it works out pretty well for this area. And it turns out to look really good, which I was kind of nervous about at first, going with the rocks and kind of encapsulating them in that area. So the first species we are gathering up is going to be our zebra. They are able to go in with, you know, a few other different ones. So now once we connect the path over, we do get them going. And then we get our Sable Antelope in there, and that's the other animal. So we're going to have a decent number of each one. They need a lot of the similar type stuff. So changing up, you know, kind of the environment isn't really asking too much of them. You know, they're very similar in that way, so we can put in a lot of the same similar kind of things for them, as far as the sand, the rock level, the tree coverage, and all that type of stuff. Grass is a little different. Some prefer a little bit more short grass, others prefer the longer grass, so you know kind of how it goes. This worked out pretty well, putting the little weed grass around the edges and then around the outside of the water tank. I think that looked pretty good for them, to kind of seal that area in some, and to put some of these other planting around as well. Now it is an open space, so you see us putting in a lot of the, I guess, enrichment items, food items, water items and stuff before we come in and build our little fence. It's a standard fence. It kind of fits in along with a lot of what you already see in this section of the zoo. So I really like how this thing turns out here. Now this is just a single habitat, so the video is going to be a lot shorter than some of the other ones. But it's a quick pace, but it works out pretty well for it. And this fencing, I like how it turns out. The little angled things with these poles that you have, it really plays in. I mean, yeah, it's part of that whole motif thing, but they're short enough where everybody gets a good view. You put the little chain link fence in there, kids are able to see, and it turns out to be a pretty positive kind of thing. So as I mentioned, this is the last habitat that we're putting in for the Africa section. So in the next episode, we will be doing a walkthrough of this area, so we can kind of finish it off and see how everything has come together, because we will block off a lot of the staff entrance paths. You know, we will have that so you're not able to actually see those all the way through. I'll finish up some of the dressing of the other habitats with kind of the rock walls going around, and some of these buildings I definitely need to do a little bit more of a touch up on as well. So we'll get all of that stuff hammered out there for that last episode. Here we're just finishing up adding in these last couple animals, and I think this really seals off, you know, this episode and this whole area fairly well. I really like how this thing finished off here, and it turns out, you know, it's something. Normally I'm pretty critical of my work, even though I ain't that good at this game. I like to criticize myself pretty harshly, I guess you could say. And so this turned out pretty well, and I was kind of excited to see how it actually turned out and came together within this area. So putting up the last education, finishing off some of these last little details. Like I said, this is a lot shorter episode because it is a one single habitat. It's not something we have to get too detailed in. It's kind of going to finish off the area, and a lot of the minor details I'm going to kind of do a lot of that stuff off screen, so y'all don't have to worry about sitting through and seeing all that. So I would definitely say stay tuned for that walkthrough episode, but I'm going to go ahead and get ready to leave y'all off as we'll get to some of the cinematic shots of the zebras, of the sable antelope, and of this new habitat. I just want to say thank y'all for all the support y'all have shown to this series and the channel as a whole. I am incredibly grateful for that, and I truly cannot thank y'all enough for all the support y'all have shown me during this build, some of the previous builds with Planet Zoo and Planet Coaster. So just thank y'all very much. Remember to hit the subscribe button if you have not hit it already. Hit that little notification bell so you can be notified of all the Champ and Sons content, whether you come here for Planet Zoo or any of our football or basketball gaming. Just so that way you can be notified of anything that we do upload. So we're going to jump into these cinematic shots of the animals and of this habitat, and I will see y'all in the walkthrough of the Africa section. So on that note, everybody, stay safe, and well, as we all know by now, right? Later, y'all.